Chris Sharma was born on April 23, 1981, in Santa Monica, California, USA. Raised in a household where adventure and sports were encouraged, Chris was introduced to physical activity from a young age. His early interest was in surfing and skateboarding, which are common activities along the Californian coastline. However, it wasn't until he was 12 years old that Sharma discovered the world of rock climbing, a sport that would define his life. The transition from skateboarding and surfing to rock climbing came at a pivotal time in Sharma's life. During a family trip to a local climbing gym, he found himself captivated by the sport's challenges and the sense of accomplishment it offered. With no formal background in climbing, Sharma's natural athleticism quickly became apparent as he excelled at scaling walls and tackling increasingly difficult routes. He was immediately hooked on the sport and began dedicating more time to climbing. By the age of 14, Sharma was already competing in local climbing competitions, impressing both peers and coaches alike with his raw talent and intense focus. Despite his success in competitions, Sharma's true passion was outdoor climbing, particularly sport climbing and bouldering. It was this love for outdoor routes, combined with his dedication to training, that would later push him to become one of the greatest climbers in the history of the sport. Rise to prominence and career peak. Sharma's ascent in the climbing world was rapid and remarkable. By the time he was 16, he began to stand out in national competitions, but it was his focus on outdoor climbing that truly set him apart from his contemporaries. In 1999, at the age of 17, he made headlines by climbing Realization, also known as Biography, a route in Sousse, France, that was the hardest in the world at the time. The climb was rated 5.15A9B, marking a pivotal moment in sport climbing as Sharma became the first person to ascend this incredibly difficult route. Following this success, Sharma's career took off, and he was soon regarded as one of the world's most elite climbers. His combination of strength, technique, and mental fortitude allowed him to push the boundaries of what was possible in the climbing world. Over the next few years, Sharma would go on to establish first ascents on numerous difficult routes, further solidifying his reputation as one of the sport's top athletes. In 2001, he completed the first ascent of Phantom Lord, another 5.15A9B route in Squamish, Canada. This marked the beginning of a series of groundbreaking ascents in both the United States and Europe. Sharma's success wasn't just about the difficulty of the routes, but his ability to tackle some of the world's most iconic and challenging climbs with a combination of power, technique, and style that made him a global sensation. In 2004, Sharma continued his dominance in the climbing world by completing Dawn Wall on El Capitan in Yosemite, a route that would eventually become famous for being one of the hardest big wall climbs in the world. Though the Dawn Wall would not be free climbed until later by Tommy Caldwell and Kevin Jorgensen, Sharma's ascent was notable for pushing the limits of what was considered possible on a massive wall like El Capitan. By 2007, Sharma had set a new standard for sport climbing with his ascent of Realization, which was regarded as the hardest route in the world at the time. This was a major accomplishment in a career that already boasted several extraordinary achievements. But it wasn't just about the difficulty of the climbs. Sharma was also a pioneer in terms of pushing new boundaries for outdoor climbing and helping to develop the future of the sport. Main achievements and contributions to climbing. Sharma's career is filled with groundbreaking achievements that have had a lasting impact on the world of rock climbing. Not only was he among the first climbers to ascend some of the hardest routes ever created, but he was also a key figure in the development of sport climbing, bouldering, and outdoor climbing as mainstream sports. Among his many achievements, the following are some of the most significant. First ascent of Realization Biography. As mentioned, Sharma was the first climber to complete the world's hardest route, Realization, in Sousse, France. In 2001, the 5.15A9B climb was groundbreaking and opened the door for future generations of climbers to push the limits of sport climbing. Pioneering first ascents, Sharma's pioneering spirit led him to establish some of the world's most famous routes. Notable first ascents include the Game in California, Jumbo Love in Clark Mountain, and La Dura Dura in Spain, which were all rated 5.159B+ and are among the hardest climbing routes globally. Bouldering achievements. In addition to sport climbing, Sharma made a name for himself in bouldering, another discipline of climbing that requires strength, technique, and mental control. He was one of the first to complete the mandala, a classic V12 bouldering problem in Indian Creek, Utah. Endorsement and sponsorships. As one of the best-known athletes in climbing, Sharma became a popular face for the sport. His influence brought mainstream attention to climbing, which helped grow its popularity both in the United States and abroad. He also helped establish several key sponsorships, becoming a central figure in the climbing industry. Inspiring the next generation, Sharma's influence reached far beyond his own accomplishments. His ability to balance performance with humility and enthusiasm for the sport helped inspire and mentor new climbers, many of whom went on to achieve great things themselves. Climbing film appearances. Sharma starred in several climbing documentaries and films that helped showcase the beauty and challenges of the sport. Progression 2004 and King Lines 2008 were influential films that chronicled Sharma's journeys and climbing feats, helping to spread the allure of sport climbing to wider audiences. Developing the climbing community. Sharma's involvement in creating climbing facilities, running climbing schools, and advocating for outdoor preservation has been integral to growing the sport. His approach to climbing, which focuses on enjoyment and adventure over pure competition, has made him a role model for both seasoned climbers and newcomers to the sport. Later years and continuing influence. While Sharma's career reached its peak in the 2000s and early 2010s, his influence has continued to extend well into the present. Though he no longer focuses as heavily on competitions or attempting the hardest possible routes, Sharma remains involved in climbing and continues to inspire athletes worldwide. In the latter part of his career, Sharma shifted his focus toward community-driven projects, such as helping to develop the climbing gym industry and advocating for access to outdoor climbing. He also became involved in projects to encourage youth participation in climbing and served as a mentor to a new generation of climbers, sharing his wealth of experience and knowledge. In 2017, Sharma opened Climbing Gym Center 1 in Los Angeles, a facility designed to foster a love for climbing and provide a space for climbers of all skill levels to train. The gym became one of the central hubs for climbing enthusiasts in Southern California, further cementing Sharma's commitment to promoting the sport in the United States. Sharma also remains active in tackling some of the hardest routes in the world. In recent years, he has continued to explore new areas for first ascents, particularly in Europe and the United States. While he no longer pursues climbing records with the same intensity, his involvement in groundbreaking climbs and the development of new routes has allowed him to remain a key figure in the climbing community. In 2020, Sharma became a central figure in the Olympic inclusion of climbing as he worked with organizations to ensure the sport's growth and accessibility. His experience and passion for climbing helped ensure that climbing was introduced as an Olympic sport for the first time in the 2020 Summer Games. Legacy. Chris Sharma's legacy in the world of climbing is undeniable. As a pioneer, he not only achieved feats that pushed the sport's limits, but also played a significant role in bringing climbing into the mainstream. Sharma's influence is seen in climbing gyms, competition formats, and climbing communities around the world. Beyond the incredible achievements in climbing, Sharma's humility, approachability, and commitment to promoting the sport have ensured his place as one of the most respected and influential climbers in history. Today, his name is synonymous with innovation, dedication, and passion for the world of rock climbing. Through his numerous contributions, Sharma has not only shaped the sport, but also left an indelible mark on the culture of climbing, inspiring climbers for generations to come.